Have you lost the connection with your higher self? Are you noticing the dis-ease of the outside world? It's time to reconnect with nature and each other and raise our consciousness, vibration, and frequency. Together we can create a world of peace and abundance. It's Spiritual Revolution Radio with your host, Dr. Will Miller.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show today. I have Vincent Genna with me. He's known as a tell-it-like-it-is, truly authentic psychic therapist and spiritual leader. He actually uses his extraordinary gifts in helping his clients unblock unconscious blocks that are keeping them back from really living an extraordinary life. And he just shared this in a new book. I think it just barely came out, if I'm right, in June, called The Secret That's Holding You Back. Welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Will, thank you for having me here. And I promise everybody that the picture that they're seeing right now looks so much better than what I do currently.
Well, I'm sure if you were prepared to be on video today, you would have looked as debonair as you do in that picture, for sure.
I would have mustered up the energy to do that. I'm telling you, it takes me a while to coif up there. Not like you, very natural.
Oh, that's nice of you to say. You didn't see all the makeup people behind the scene before we got started today. That's the problem.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. So you've this new book. It just came out the end of last month, right?
Yeah, June 21st, actually. Yes.
And it's about the secret that's holding you back. And I just want to say, you know, as I was reading about this, it says your brain has unconsciously created blocks that sabotage your efforts to create a meaningful life. And this, I actually stole this statement because I love what you say here. It says, the bottom line is you don't believe what you think you believe.
Absolutely. That is 40 years worth of talking with clients and thousands of people all over the world. My research in metaphysics, psychology, and spirituality. And Dr. Will, that is what I've completely concluded because, we have sayings for that too. If you really think about it, people who talk out of the side of their mouths, people who don't walk their talk. We're always talking about something that people are thinking and believing one way, but they're acting another way. Why is that? And that is because they don't understand that there are different levels of the brain, and what they think they believe, they truly don't. And they can prove that by just looking at their lives. We are manifesting beings. We're tapped into this incredible force called the law of attraction, law of manifesting, whatever you want to call it. And we create what we believe about ourselves. That's the bottom line. So it's not just our thoughts that create. That's a little misleading. It doesn't complete the sentence when it says you create with your thoughts. Actually, your thoughts influence your beliefs. You create with your beliefs. So if you don't see in your life what you want, what you're going after, what you desire, what you believe you deserve, it's only because you're not truly believing you deserve that. And that is the biggest problem that I've seen with everybody, which is the reason why I wrote this book.
Well, and so you're really talking about our deep set beliefs that come from probably childhood, right?
Absolutely. They start from childhood. They're the first set of beliefs that we have about ourselves. And we receive those beliefs from the way the environment treats us, Dr. Will, from the adults in our lives, our parents, our teachers, our siblings, even our circumstances. As children, we just absorb. We absorb those first negative, unconscious messages that we receive. And from them, we form these identity beliefs. That's the only thing that the brain can do, is just we're egocentric then. And I also call them the I'm nots, these maladaptive beliefs from the negative messages. I'm not good enough. I'm not deserving enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not lovable enough. Whatever it is, it's from those messages. Now, the funny thing is, everybody thinks that once they grow up and they're adults now, oh, wow, I've left my childhood behind me. That's it. I've gotten over that. I'm an adult now. I'm making my own life, my own world. I'm not bothered by my past at all. Well, that actually is all nonsense because we are so influenced by those first set of beliefs that in our adult lives, our brain actually helps us to create a new set of beliefs to shield us and protect us from those old ones. So we spend an entire lifetime forming new beliefs to hide the old beliefs. So if the old beliefs didn't influence us, we certainly wouldn't create all these defense mechanisms as we became older. And so, yes, they are hidden, but they are the greatest influencers in our lives. We can actually see that in the way people act and the way they've been acting in the world. You know, when you turn around and you look at an adult that's being abusive or lashing out or being hateful in some way, a lot of people turn, oh my gosh, look at him or her. It looks like a little kid. He's acting like a little kid and having a temper tantrum. And that's actually true. The child within is taking over and causing the responses because of those first set of beliefs that are in there that we've been trying to hide and shield and protect ourselves from. And that's where all the defense mechanisms come from, Dr. Will.
So, I call this kind of your conditioning, right? Is where that childhood belief comes from. Is your conditioning? You mentioned it, your family, your
Right.
friends, those kinds of things that really condition you to believe a certain way that we go about in life. And you, in part of this process that you're talking about in your book, you talk about finding this kind of hidden blocks, if you will, in part of your brain. Explain that to me and my audience just a little bit.
Okay. Well, the way I put it in my book, I divide the brain into other parts other than the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious or superconscious mind. I added another two, the environment-made mind and then the adult-made mind. The environment-made mind forms like when we were talking about when you're a child. And I call it the environment-made mind because of the conditioning that you're talking about you start receiving. Mm-hmm. And your brain makes compartments to harbor things. Look, the highest function of the brain is to keep us alive. The second highest function of the brain is to protect us in order to keep us alive. And so it will do what it needs to do to hold on to things. It holds on to thoughts. It holds on to ideas. It holds on to beliefs because that's one way of protecting us. But then it also forms other compartments like then the adult-made mind to protect us from the environment-made mind. So what the block becomes, Dr. Will, is the closest mind now to our conscious level is the adult-made mind and the new set of beliefs that are in there. So here we are, we're now walking around, and instead of believing that I'm not good enough, we formed a new belief that you're not good enough. And we cast blame out onto the world. Hey, it's not my fault that I didn't get my raise at work. It's my stupid boss. It's his fault. You know, he's the one that doesn't appreciate me. Oh, it's not my fault that the relationship went bad. It's my partner. He doesn't understand me. She doesn't understand me, or he or she is abusive. And that's the reason why my relationships were bad. So what happens is those new beliefs block you from understanding what you're really believing. Because deep down, you're still truly believing it's I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable enough. So why does that matter? Again, now we have to tap into the spiritual part of who we are. We are more than physical beings. Metaphysics, it means more than the physical world. And what is that? We are energies having a physical experience. So as energy, we're tapped into a force, a power. Some call it the law of attraction, the law of manifesting. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's there and it's working all the time. But that power is connected to us in our unconscious minds. So even though you're sitting there and you think you're believing in yourself and you think you're lovable, but you can't attract the right relationship, or you can't get the job you want or fulfill your dreams, it's because that's not where you're connected to the power. Because underneath, there's the mind that's saying, you're not good enough. You don't deserve your dreams. You don't deserve your knight in shining armor. You don't deserve a good job. And that's what people are walking around with and not even knowing it. And it's not their fault, because that is the process of the brain. The brain needs to protect us in order to function in a daily life. And so in psychology, when I have my psychotherapy degree, and when I had my practices, right, we had, people coming into the office, and again, talking about all of those things that they're not getting, and they're depressed and they have anxiety and they have all these different things. But what they're not realizing is that the brain has shielded them, and we as therapists have to now teach them coping skills. Coping skills. Coping skills, you just use your conscious mind and you don't pay attention to what's going on deep down, because that gets in the way. So cognitive behavioral therapy is all about that, but that gets in the way of thriving as spiritual beings and manifesting what you really deserve. That's what happens.
So really, and correct me if I'm wrong in what I'm hearing you say, but I'm hearing that this law of attraction, or law of vibration, whatever you want to call it, well, stems from the law of vibration. So we're using this law of attraction to bring about a new life for ourselves. And we want to change our beliefs, and consciously we're working on changing these beliefs. And I love myself. I'm a better person. I'm doing all this, right? But in this other part of us, it's not what we truly believe. We don't believe exactly what we said earlier. You don't believe what you truly believe. So what are the steps? What's the process of getting to what you truly believe and unblocking that?
Great question. That is a great question. And that's actually, I put those steps in this book purposely to be able to help people get through the blocks. The hardest part, one of the hardest parts, there's two parts that's really difficult, but the most difficult part is acknowledging that your defenses are getting in the way. So when I'm working with clients on the phone and I'm doing a reading, as a psychic, I get to dive in there. They can't block me out. They can only block their consciousness out. And so I'm seeing that little kid inside of them that's saying, you're not lovable. Well, the biggest part of my job is bursting their bubble and helping them to break down that defense mechanism, because, of course I think I'm lovable. Oh, I've been working on myself. I'm a lovable person. Nah, it's not that. It's not. And really, depending upon the culture each person comes from, that also can add to the blocks, because cultures are not only diversity in a person's character and background, it also is defense mechanisms that can come from that culture that you have learned and been conditioned by. So some cultures are a little more difficult than others to get through, because they've had to defend themselves more in order to survive, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm there knocking down the walls going, wait a minute. How can you say you believe you're lovable? And then I have to reflect their past to them and let them remember, wait a minute, remember this and that and this and that happened to you? I said, so what work did you do to finally recognize that you're lovable? And they sit there and they go ponder and they think and they go, oh my gosh, maybe I am defending myself here. So recognizing your defenses is step one. Now comes the painful part. See, that's not the painful part. That's the obstinate part that you've got to get through. The painful part and the most courageous part is allowing your unconscious mind to surface to the conscious level. to allow those inner beliefs to come. Well, the whole reason why your brain created defense mechanisms, because they were painful to start with. Who wants to walk around all day long thinking that you're a piece of garbage? I'm not good enough. There are people that don't have enough defenses, and that's why you see depressed people or suicidal people. It's because their defenses are very weak. And so they're living constantly with those maladaptive feelings. Also, in the field of psychology, we have a difficult time getting patients to come in for therapy and counseling because they're afraid. They're not afraid of the process. They're afraid of finding out that their greatest fears about themselves are true. And here's what everybody has to understand. There is not one belief in your maladaptive mind that is true. You are magnificent. You are wonderful. It doesn't make a difference how smart or not smart you think you are. You're capable of growing your intellect. You're capable of so many different things, but nobody nurtured you into believing that. We have some of the worst stories that people have been through in their lives, crazy stories, even worse than mine. I mean, I was abused as a kid until I was 17 years old. I was beat up in school all the time. When the kids caught me, they shoved me in lockers, flushed my head in toilets, peed on me, spit on me, stripped me naked, and threw me into assemblies to embarrass me. And then when I got home, it was no better over there. Mom had been molested by her brother until she was 13 years old. And so she had mental pathologies that she took out on me and my brother. And so we were unsafe there. Plus, I myself was sexually molested too. So I have a lot of those same pains that some people have, and some have even worse than me, Dr. Will, worse than me, and some maybe not as bad. But we have these stories. And these stories have taken away our core values that we were created with. We're divine, magnificent beings, unlimited. And we're here on this planet to discover that, to discover our greatness, not to discover our weaknesses. But unfortunately, stories get passed down from generation to generation as you bring in new children. And the children aren't receiving necessarily what they need to believe in themselves and their unlimited abilities. They're believing that they're weak. They've been conditioned, like you said earlier, and they swallowed the stories of what they were told. And the greatest part of what we have to get through is to bring those beliefs to the surface and then reparent yourself. And there's all different techniques and strategies to be able to do that. I write many of them in my book. But you have to first acknowledge the defense. Second, bring those feelings to the surface. And then third, reinforce the truth about your own greatness and spiritual. We're all spiritual beings. We're a high energy vibration. We're the highest vibrational form on this planet. And we have to begin to recognize that and live in that vibration, as you spoke of earlier. And that is the process. But you know what? That sounded simple. The process is simple. The practice is most difficult, because you've got to get through the years and years of continued conditioning that you imposed upon yourself, Dr. Will. That's what we have to really get through. And that's why there's so many layers and why it's so difficult.
So, I mean, you talk about these three steps, if you will, that you have to go through, or processes you have to go through. I mean, tell me, is that a long process? It's probably different for each person, right?
Well, again, it's just a matter of practice. Okay, so for example, one simple technique that I use, I call the 3A system in my book. Okay, The first A is awareness. You have to walk around being aware of what you're thinking, what you're feeling. We also call that mindfulness, right? Eckhart Tolle referred to it as mindfulness. Jon Kabat-Zinn, actually, before Eckhart Tolle wrote about it in his books, and talked about the importance of paying attention to the here and now. Well, there's a reason to pay attention to the here and now, not just so not to miss out on all the experiences you're having right now, but also to be paying attention to what you're thinking about right now. Because it's in the here and now that you can grab that thought and change it. So the first A I talk about is be aware of any of your thoughts. And so the moment you have a negative thought, a fear or a doubt, and I'm going to say something that sounds absolutely wild, but is absolutely true. Every adult, unless there's a mental pathology, is rational, reasonable, reliable, and stable. Every adult is rational, reasonable, reliable, and stable. Every child is not. Therefore, when the adult is acting up, when the adult is feeling fear, when the adult is being unreasonable about doubts and negativity in any way, that is not the adult that is doing that. So I've got the second A, which is acknowledge. Acknowledge where that fear is coming from. Acknowledge where that doubt is coming from, that anger, that frustration. It's coming from the kid inside. Those are also called button pushers. Button pushers. It's like when you're standing in line at the grocery store and the cashier is taking her time or his time with the person in front of you, and you start to get upset. And you're sitting there and you're going, what am I, chopped liver? I'm like, hey, I'm here too. I want to get out of here. You're not paying attention to me. And you start getting riled up. Well, if you stopped your thought for a minute to wonder, why are you getting riled up? What is it about that feeling that is being pushed? What button is being pushed? Acknowledge now that it's coming from the kid within. Because maybe when you were younger, maybe mom and dad didn't pay attention to you and you weren't acknowledged back then, and it made you feel like you were unworthy, that nobody cares about you. You're not sitting there going, oh, the cashier happens to be very friendly. She's really sweet. Isn't that nice? And she's going to have a conversation with you when you get up to the front too. You're not thinking that. You're thinking more like, she doesn't care about me. And you can come up with some choice words depending upon whether you come from New York or not, where I come from, right? And so you're thinking all those things when in reality, it's your own feeling of having been ignored, not feeling worthy, not feeling cared about, that is being pushed, that is being incited. So the third A then is to affirm the truth to your little kid at that moment that you have that negative feeling. No, she does care about you. You are worthy. You are important. She's just being friendly. It's okay. But not to feel that you're meaningless. Don't allow yourself to hold on to that negative feeling. You have to reframe the thoughts all the time. That's the purpose of mindfulness, to give you a chance to reframe your thoughts.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that with us. Tell us real quick, we're down to about the last minute and a half. Just tell people how to find you and find your book.
Well, the best way is to go to my website at vincentgenna.com. That's where you find me. That's with a Genna. My book is on Amazon and all fine book-selling retail stores. But Amazon, just go to, you can order it. And then you can come and join my Facebook group, The Secret That's Holding You Back. Share your experiences while you're working through the book. People are helping each other even now with some of the things that they're going through. And I'm there. I'm there to help you as well. I want to take you through this process. I want to help you finally be able to create the life of your dreams, and you can with The Secret That's Holding You Back. Thanks so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on the show today. And again, you can find Vincent at vincentgenna.com. That's Genna on Genna. So 2 N's. Find him there, get his book, and work along with him in finding these hidden things that are holding us back. So
absolutely.
You can find me at lifebydesign.institute. or you can get a hold of me at spiritualrevolutionradio.com, where we can talk about you being on the show, just like Vincent was today. Vincent, any last little tidbit of great information you want to share?
I want everybody to understand that the fuel to have everything you attempt work is 100% unconditional.
Oop, you kind of went away on me there. Well, everyone, thank you for showing up today. Love and peace, and we'll catch you next time.
This has been Spiritual Revolution Radio with Dr. Will Miller. For more information or to be a guest, please visit lifebydesign.institute. Join us next week for another edition of Spiritual Revolution Radio with your host, Dr. Will Miller. This has been a production from a podcast studio.